Y'all ready for this?
Hi.
Hi.
What's up, dudes? It's Erin.
And Nicole.
Welcome to Dude That's Fucked Up.
You wanted the best, you got the best.
Best? Something.
You got this,
something.
you got this.
You got this. Hi, guys. Hope you're all doing great. We have another fun-filled episode for you today.
Oh, my goodness.
You guys.
Oh, I feel like let's get straight into it. The business, this is the 99th episode, bitches.
Yeah. Yeah, we had sent out a call for people to, crowdsource a 100th episode.
Uh-huh.
We're doing the runner-up episode today.
You know what? I'm very excited because I had never even heard about. I never even heard about this, and then.
I mean, I remember hearing about it, but I was like, "This is fucking crazy." I don't know. This is weird. But I didn't read about it. But now I did, and now I know everything, and cannot believe this happened in real life. It's crazy.
I can't believe that you were able to figure out some of the sciencey stuff in it because I saw the notes you were putting in. And I'm like, I didn't even attempt to understand what this meant. So I'm looking forward to learning today, along with the audience.
It's gonna be so fun, guys. Yeah, we're just gonna jump into it. I don't have anything fucked up. It's not even. Nothing is as fucked up as what we're about to talk about.
Yeah, no, I'm like, it just doesn't compare. And I just want to, this is my fucked up of the week.
Yeah, learning about this. Yeah. So like I said, this is our runner-up episode suggestion.
Yeah.
Our 100th episode is coming up next, but this is the story of the Radioactive Boy Scout. This motherfucker.
Oh my god.
So this is a bunch of people suggested this, and it is fascinating. So,
dude, you want to hear how some kid fucking Kevin McCallistered his way to create radioactive shit? Great. That's what this is.
Here it is. That's what this is. Hope you're ready.
Hope you're ready. Get out your talk boy. Get out your pre-recorded movies because you're going to be playing zingers and making calls and getting stuff you shouldn't have. And it's
ordering your very own cheese pizza. Oh my god. Anyway, before we get started, I just want to shout out my main source was the 1998 Harper's article by Ken Silverstein entitled Radioactive Boy Scout. It is comprehensive, and it was the very first article really that pretty much everybody sources when they talk about this, when they bring up this topic in any kind of way, I guess.
Oh, good. I hope the Weird History YouTube video that was 13 minutes long sourced that, because that's what I watched.
Cool. Well, this guy is the first one to have interviewed him. The guy.
Cool. Oh, it's like a direct. Okay, I watched some other YouTube videos and read the Wikipedia page too, and some other things, so it's fine.
Yeah. So this story went really under the radar. This happened back in 1995, I believe, and this kid at the time, his name is David Charles Hahn. And he was just this teenage kid who basically figured out how to make a nuclear reactor in his mom's backyard. Very, I would say he's a very precocious kid.
Driven, ambitious. You know
ambitious.
What? Someone should have slid an application to Harvard across the desk. Instead, all the parents ignored him and just let him do whatever he wanted to.
Yeah, it's nobody was nurturing this in the right way. Nobody was channeling these energies in an appropriate way. Anyway, so he was born 1976 in Michigan, Shelby Charter Township.
What a name. I don't know.
Lots of names.
Too many names, yeah.
His parents got divorced when he was a toddler, and so he was shuffled back and forth between Shelby Charter Township and
Did you say Shelby Charter.
Shelby Charter. Shelby Charter Township. I can't say it. It's a tongue twister.
Yeah.
So his dad lived in Shelby Charter Township, and his mom moved to a place called Golf Manor. It's like a place where you play putt-putt.
I want to do an Edie impression, but I can't think of it right now.
A what impression?
Little Edie, like the Kennedy. Golf Manor.
Golf Manor. Yes, it's a very quiet neighborhood. I don't know. Let's cut all of this out.
It's like, yes, Mother and I used to live in Shelby Charter Township.
I'm gonna pee stuff.
But
now we move to Golf Manor. I can't.
Oh, it's across from Maplecroft. There we go. All right.
There we go.
All right.
Anyway, Golf Manor was a very safe, very sleepy, very unremarkable town, despite its really fun name. And that's where David was going back and forth throughout his like childhood and teenage years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So something that was like very formative for him when he was growing up was a book that he was given. And I think who gave him this book? His grandfather?
I think his grandfather gave him. The book was called The Golden Book of Chemistry Experiments. Like, cute. I feel like, oh, it's like a grandparent's present. And like, oh, here's like a chemistry book, which is like, I don't want this dumb book. But he liked it.
Yeah, I mean, I had a chemistry set when I was a kid.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. It was one of my favorite things.
Oh, that's so nice.
I really liked science when I was a kid. And even in high school, too, I really liked science. But yeah. I didn't make it very far. I took biology twice. As I also took geometry twice because I hated it. It was stupid.
No, I took geometry twice. I didn't understand it. But I blame the teacher.
Yeah, same.
And I think I had the same teacher twice. Wait, or did I
you
take...
have Mrs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I blame Mrs. She was terrible.
She was awful. But okay, that's fine if you have like a kid set, but like David Hahn did not have a little kid's chemistry set. He went and got this book and was like, "Oh yeah, I want to like get into this." And he bought like legit like lab beakers and test tubes and shit.
And like real chemicals.
Yeah. What the fuck?
Like that's just a real like quick note on David. He was just he just took things a little bit too far.
Oh,
let's just say.
Yeah, that's good.
He didn't like when he was like a dog with a bone. He just like didn't want to like he couldn't just do one thing. He wanted to take it to the limit. So
like call him the Eagles. He's taking it to the limit.
Take it to the limit. Yeah.
Okay, but listen, by the age of 14, again, his parents were like not interested in whatever he was doing. And by the age of 14, he'd fabricated nitroglycerin, which...
That's crazy.
Okay.
It's super explosive.
Okay, I didn't even know that, but...
That's what you see in like all like the cartoons and shit, or like the old westerns. It's like super explosive.
Like Looney Tunes type stuff?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. I didn't know because the video I watched was like nitroglycerin. Oh my God. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know what that is. So I Googled it. And it's the same, if you have a heart condition, you take like nitroglycerin pills.
Yeah, tab. Yeah, you like melt it under your tongue and it's like, yeah.
And it helps like move your arteries or whatever.
Yeah, it's like it's one of those like multi-purpose chemicals that can be used for many different things aside from blowing up things.
Yeah, including your anal fissures, because apparently you're prescribed a tube of nitroglycerin by your doctor when you have stuff going on down in your beehole.
I did not know that. Wow.
But is it flammable?
I'm learning. It's very flammable.
Don't light your farts on fire if you've got anal fissures and you're currently treating them under the care of a doctor. And they should tell you that. And if your doctor didn't tell you not to light your farts on fire, but I would get a new doctor because
I could just see that commercial for nitroglycerin. Use as prescribed. If you want to light farts, don't apply nitroglycerin. I don't know. It's pretty good.
Nitroglycerin is highly explosive. Doctors do not recommend lighting your farts on fire or standing near a bonfire with loved ones after eating chili by the campfire.
Oh, dear. Dearie me.
Anyway, yeah.
Dangerous. He's doing some dangerous shit. Mm-hmm. Which, for a teenage boy, I get it. Like, science is a good outlet. Like, that's cool. But, like, he was completely unsupervised. He would just go in his room and he would just start experimenting. And he would just have explosions and smoke and, like, all kinds of stuff coming out of his room. And this is his room at his dad's house, by the way.
Yeah.
It's where his, like, little kid lab was.
Do you think there was, like, a little sign that was, like, caution, science? Or
yeah.
It's like, cool science, kid.
Cool science happening. Watch out. Yeah. But so he fucked up his room, though, like, so bad. Like, he basically, like, had so much corrosive fucking chemicals and, like, little explosions going on that his walls were all pockmarked. The carpet got ruined, like, to the point where they had to rip it out.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so his dad and his stepmom were like, you cannot do this in this room anymore. Take this shit down to the basement. So he takes all his, like, lab down to the basement. And I don't know if this was smart because it seems like he had more room to do crazier stuff.
He had more room to do activities.
More room for activities. Yeah, exactly. So he's down in the basement now, and then he accidentally ignites some red phosphorus in the basement, which causes a pretty huge explosion. I mean, it, like, shook the house, and his dad... Was
it an accident? Because
Oh, no. I mean, it's an accident because he didn't know it was that explosive, I guess.
Yeah.
I know, I was reading about it. He was, like, pounding it with, like, a screwdriver.
In a glass jar. He just, like, put a bunch and he just was, like, hitting it with the screwdriver.
Dude, what a fucking gnarly kid.
Oh, my God.
Don't be like this, Jack. So his dad and his stepmom come down to the basement, and he's, like, unconscious on the ground.
What?
They thought he was, like, dead. They were like, holy shit, because, like, they hear this huge explosion down in the basement. They go down there. He had exploded this red phosphorus, and he wasn't even wearing any safety goggles or anything, by the way. So he almost blinded himself, and they took him to the emergency room. He had to get, like, little pieces of plastic picked out of his eyes.
Oh.
For, like, months afterwards.
Ew.
Because the little plastic container that the phosphorus was in, it had exploded, and, like, shards of it whenever. That's why you wear safety goggles, kids.
Oh, my God. That should be the first lesson in the chemistry book that his grandpa gave him.
Right?
Read no further without safety glasses. Safety, like, all precautionary measures.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so then after this, his dad and his stepmom were like, get the fuck out of here with this science bullshit.
They were like, go to Golf Manor. That sounded like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Go to Golf Manor.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. He went to his mom's and her boyfriend's house at Golf Manor, and they luckily had a little, potting garden shed in the backyard. And he was like, oh, cool, I'll just do all my experiments here. So he has like a whole free reign of this little potting shed in the backyard. Great.
Do you think they were just happy he wasn't, like, chronically masturbating?
I mean, who's to say he wasn't doing both?
Well, that's true. Well, yeah. Man, maybe.
I mean, I think they assume that he was just masturbating all the time.
But then, like, shit's blowing up. Yeah, I feel like you'd be like,
I'd be like, are you not paying attention because you're masturbating so much and that's why so many explosions are happening? What's going on?
Yeah, what's going on? You know what? It doesn't matter. Take your masturbating down to the basement.
Look, I just don't want to see you or hear you.
Just make sure the door's shut.
Yeah. Take a shower every now and then and try not to ruin the carpet. Thanks, kid.
Thanks, bye.
Thanks, bye. Yeah. So he was in the Boy Scouts also.
Yeah.
As many young boys, young men around this time, 90s.
Yeah, and I feel like also, although he was like kind of older for, don't most kids drop out by like their teen years? I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, so where I grew up, there was a lot, where we grew up, there was a lot of Mormons, and they were all in the Boy Scouts. And one of my boyfriends in high school, he was an Eagle Scout, and he was almost 18. So, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Listen, I don't know shit about the Boy Scouts or how old you are, whatever, because I dropped out of Girl Scouts and Brownies.
Which is like the earliest.
It's daisies and then brownies.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like first grade probably. You're like, I don't like this.
Yeah, I was like, I don't like these bitches. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. And then my mom made me call the scout leader, and I think that's where my phone anxiety started. Is because she like forced me. She's like, well, if you don't want to do this thing anymore, you have to call your scout leader. And it was like, I was like in second grade, and I was like, I don't want to. I don't want to talk on the phone. I'm scared. I don't know what to say. And she's like, do it. So, pretty sure
Bobby.
that's why. Yeah. Well, because she was like, we paid money for your fucking uniform, and like, I need a fucking break from you, kid.
Yeah. No,
I understand that now.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's like, I want to play bunco with my friends.
Or just like have an hour to eat a snack that like the kids aren't touching.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Let me eat this fucking rice cake with peanut butter on it, and you
Yeah.
don't get your grimy little hands on it.
Let me eat my cabbage soup in peace. Anyway, yeah. So I don't know. He was probably kind of old for Boy Scouts.
Well,
but
and
maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think just older than average. I know a lot of dudes that we went to high school with that were Eagle Scouts, and I think Pete's oldest brother is an Eagle Scout. So like, it happens. I think it's just like by then most people are just like off getting into trouble and like not doing this.
Well, and it takes a lot of hard work to get the merit badges to become an Eagle Scout.
Yeah, because like I think you have to get 21, which is a lot.
And yeah, some of the merit badges are really hard to get.
Yeah.
And that's where this all started, is the merit badge for, I guess,
Eagles.
Atomic energy.
Oh, yeah. Well, so I feel like arguably this is like the one smart thing David Hahn's dad did. He was like, hey, you're really interested in this stuff. Why don't you put how much work and effort you're putting into your like little experiments into becoming an Eagle Scout? Because like it's gonna take a lot of dedication, and it's a lot of projects and all this work. It'd be great if you could take that ethic and that work ethic and put it into becoming an Eagle Scout. But that was a mistake, because they do have one that is for atomic energy. It's a merit badge for atomic energy that is since removed.
Yeah, they don't do this merit badge anymore, and this is probably why.
Yeah. I think so some of them like there's 21 badges you have to earn. Some are like predetermined. So there's badges for like that are mandatory, that are like camping, family life, and personal management, which I don't know what that entails, but it sounds dumb. And then
I mean, maybe, I don't know, that sounds like a good life skill to learn.
Personal management?
Yeah.
But
like,
is it like finances, or like is it like
I think it probably encompasses a lot of things, like like scheduling your time, and
that's
like
nice.
Like personal responsibility, like, I don't know.
Sure. Okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
And like family life, camping, and like, fishing, all the kinds of, like, all the things that you would think Boy Scouts have to do. But then there's ones that aren't mandatory that you could just like pick, and I would assume you'd pick the easy ones and then see how that goes just to get your Eagle Scout status. But some of them include the inventing badge, which is like the Billy Mays badge, the fucking QVC badge.
Oh, R.I.P.
RIP. Basketry. I'm guessing you.
Make baskets?
Or is it like you make like gift baskets, like the cellophane wrapped ones, and you have to like put Harry and David jars in there and like arrange them so it's like visually appealing?
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
And then there's, at first when I read this word, I'm like, what is it? It's bugling. You know, like, that's a badge.
I read this in the notes as bulging.
Is that? Oh no, I spelled it right. It's bugling.
Yeah, you spelled it right.
No.
I just read it as bulging, and I was like, bulging?
Yeah, they just put on tight khaki pants, and then they have to go stand around at a Kmart. What the fuck?
Is that a moose knuckle on the badge?
Oh my god!
Oh dear.
It's the
oh Lord.
It's the badgel of the bulge.
Badgel. Oh god.
And then there was one which was like very culturally insensitive, and that still exists. It's on the Wikipedia page. It's called Indian lore, which I think you just like learn about all the different like
Native American culture.
maybe a lot of their stories and stuff, which I guess that's cool, but I don't know. I know those organizations were probably like not doing things right. I remember in Girl Scouts going down to Palm Springs for like a Native American festival or whatever, and we just like walked around and then we ate fry bread and then we left.
Amazing.
But I don't think we actually learned anything.
I did this program in elementary school called Indian Education.
Oh.
And it was like an after school program kind of thing.
Uh-huh.
And we like would go on these like cool field trips and stuff and like make arts and crafts and stuff and like learn about Native American history.
Oh.
And I one field trip we went to this guy's like property. He was like, I don't know, some Native American dude, and he at the end of the this is like so crazy that this happened. I still can't believe this. At the end of the field trip, we were like all getting on the bus, and he brings out his elephant gun.
What's that?
And it's like a fucking huge rifle, or like like elephant buffalo gun, whatever. And he fires it in the air.
Oh my god.
And it was the loudest thing I have ever heard in my life.
And everyone's like, ooh, all the teachers were like, yay. And you're just like, oh my god.
Yeah, and he fucking fires it in the air, and we were just like, oh my god. Like, I don't know.
Hopefully it was a blank.
No, it was like a full live round.
Oh my god.
So that was, that was the 90s. What are you going to do?
Yeah, well.
Anyway.
Yeah, right after, just barely a little safer than the 80s, but
yeah,
not by
just
much.
a little bit more. We had a lot of stuff going for us, like cool after school programs, but
yeah,
still a lot of unsupervised and questionable activities happening. Like this kid.
Yeah. Yeah, he got like really fixated on the atomic energy badge.
Yeah.
And they're like, so each badge you have to do like a bunch of stuff to like get the badge. There's like a lot of projects within it, but I think you kind of make them up yourself.
Yeah, I read like there's like a whole bunch of things like you could do. You can visit like the power plant. You have to like write all like reports. You have to interview people. Like there's all these things. There's many steps. This is very involved. It's not like because I mean,
yeah,
you have to. I don't know what else you could do, but he took this way too far.
Yeah, and so he got the badge. It seems like pretty easily. He wrote a pamphlet and like he visited some local utility companies, and the pamphlet was basically like nuclear energy is good, and it was like his little like argument for it. And then he also made a chart explaining nuclear fission,
Not fusion, fission.
Fission.
There's a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, did I say fusion? No, I said
No,
fission.
no.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
you
you're just
said,
saying.
yeah.
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 And he put together like a model of a nuclear reactor, which was like very harmless. It was just like plastic straws and like a juice jug and like some it was like some found kitchen parts that he just like put together and was like, this is what it would look like. And
Yeah.
and then also he visited a radiology lab at a local hospital, and he learned there they told him how to use radioactive isotopes. So he, it's
Yeah, because radioactive isotopes could be used for a lot of things, which we'll talk about in a second. But
yeah, I don't know that.
he gets his badge.
Yeah,
and this is 1991. He gets it. Done. Good. Great job. But then because of all of the stuff that he did to get the badge, he like starts to get obsessed with the idea of nuclear energy.
Yeah.
And he starts going down this path that ultimately ends up with him fixating on the idea of developing a breeder reactor, which a breeder reactor is a nuclear device that generates electricity and simultaneously produces new fuel. So this is like very cool technology if you can get it to work.
This is like fucking Elon Musk shit.
Well,
or like it's like very sciencey. But he's 14.
He's 14, and the fact that he's like fixated on this is like very cool. Like I don't know. I think it's awesome that he's into this, but there's a lot of jargon and science and chemistry involved around breeder reactors, but not going to bore you with that. But the main thing you should know is that the creation and function of this device relies on the fact that it needs a core of plutonium-239, which should be surrounded by a blanket, quote, of uranium-238 to essentially do what it needs to do.
I don't know what any of that means.
Me neither, but it's like involved. And it when it works, it's like it's supposed to create new energy so that you don't have to like use fossil fuels or whatever. And in the 60s, this became like a very exciting idea. This was like all when we started figuring out all this stuff.
I have a question.
With nuclear energy, yeah.
But how do you get to 1.21 gigawatts?
You go 88 miles per hour.
Easy.
Doy. You got to get that flux capacitor filled up.
Yeah, where does the flux capacitor come into play on all this? Because I know what that looks like. This is all very complicated.
Well, we don't really. I mean, we still do use nuclear energy, but it's such a fraught technology and source of energy because it's very expensive to maintain, and to contain it, you need to have all these systems in place. Yeah. Because if you have a meltdown, it is disastrous. Like radioactive material is scary. Yeah. So we tried to get all this going in like the 60s, and then shit got too complicated, expensive, dangerous, and so we don't really fucks with that too much anymore. I mean, we do, but not in the way that it was hoped for. Yeah. Anyway, if you're thinking, how the fuck did this kid figure out how to do anything remotely close to making this thing, and how did he manage to even gather the things that he needed to make it, such as fucking radioactive material?
Oh my god.
Let's just say he figured it out slowly but surely. He's pretty much a genius. But before he got going down the nuclear reactor path, he kind of got obsessed with irradiating things. So he had to make a gun to do that. Oh my God. I don't know how he figured all this out.
A radiation
initially.
Gun?
Yeah. But he basically figured out how to make a radiation gun. And irradiating things, if you're like, what the fuck does that mean? It's pretty safe, benign, if it's, done right. And he figured out how to do it right. So when you expose things to radiation in like small amounts, it's beneficial. You can use it to sterilize, preserve, like food, for example. You can kill microorganisms. You can use it as pest control. For example, food irradiation is a thing that is FDA approved, and it's applying ionized radiation to food. And it's a technology that improves the safety and extends the shelf life of foods by reducing or eliminating microorganisms and insects. Irradiation can make food safer for the consumer, and this is all according to the FDA.
And yet everyone has cancer now, so who knows
Weird.
what's happening.
Next time, this is crazy. Next time you're grocery shopping, see if you can find something with the Radura symbol on it, with the statement "treated with radiation" or "treated by irradiation" on the food label.
And then don't buy it.
Yeah, I don't know. Astronauts use this to, like, for their food in space. Like, that's what NASA uses to, like, preserve whatever food they use in space. Anyway, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So he made a fucking gun that would do this, basically.
Oh my God.
The gun essentially bombards isotopes with neutrons. I don't know what that means, but it does.
I just heard you go, science, science, science.
Nerd, 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 nerd.
I just heard you go, gun, nerd, science, nerd, gun, food, nerd.
So making the gun took a long time, but he figured out how to do that by contacting groups that were listed on his merit badge pamphlet. The DOE, I guess, I don't know, that's some sort of nuclear thing. The Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the NRC.
Department of Energy?
Oh yeah, that's what it is.
Is it?
Duh.
Oh
yeah, I think you're right.
Excuse me. I can't understand any of this, but I can give you the meaning of an acronym.
The American Nuclear Society, the Edison Electrical Institute, and the Atomic Industrial Forum. So that's the nuclear power industries trade group. So
I'm impressed. I'm like even impressed that he like got contacts at all these places. Like,
and this is before internet, by the way.
This is before internet, and you know how like when you're a kid and you're like, I want to order a pizza or something, and your mom's like, okay, why don't you call and do it? And you're like, I don't know how.
Yeah,
it's like, just look in the phone book.
Get the yellow pages out. God damn it.
The fucking
the white pages.
Yeah, the numbers on the fridge on the magnet. The pizza magnet. Just get it. It's like, it's like,
or you get the coupon book out where it's like the $5 carry out coupon. And
yeah.
You're like, you have to be like, I have a coupon for this. Yeah. Anyway, so he contacts all these groups and he writes up to 20 letters a day to all these different places claiming to be a physics professor or instructor at Chippewa Valley High School. He said he got a ton of information from some of these groups, and a lot of it, though, was kind of only of marginal value.
Like, hello, sir or madam. My
name is Dr. Hahn. Yeah, and he just, like, pretended he was a high school professor, basically, or physics teacher, whatever, and he eventually gets in touch with I think it's the Nuclear Regulatory Commission's director of isotope production and distribution, a dude named Donald Erb. And he gets in touch with him by mail. And this guy gives David all these tips about isolating certain radioactive elements. He like kind of walks him through how to do all this shit. And he asks like all the questions, like how much risk is posed by radioactive materials, and this guy says, oh, it's not, the real dangers are slight, and like nobody in the public can get enough of this stuff in quantities enough to like hurt anything.
Yeah.
So that kind of gives him a green light to start trying to figure out how to get his hands on some of this stuff.
Oh my goodness.
So he even, like, when he reached out to the NRC, they like sent him so much information, and they also sent him pricing stuff, like data for commercial sources for some of the radioactive stuff he wanted to purchase.
Oh
and
my
all under the guise that he was getting it for his students in his class. So all he had to, they gave him all the information he needed, and all he had to do was go out and get it.
That is wild to me. That
Yeah, and to be clear, like none of this stuff. It was like all the sum of everything was what was dangerous, but like all these things individually.
Right.
I don't know.
He like
it's like making meth.
Yeah, he like did a good job of breaking up the steps and reaching out to different people so that they couldn't connect it all back to each other.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So he got a list of all the things he needed, and he needed 14 different radioactive isotopes. And I won't like list them all, but some of them could be found in kind of benign places that like some of these household products need to work, like a smoke detector.
Oh.
And you could get radium 226 from the luminous dials on clock faces, like alarm clocks. That paint has trace amounts of radium. You can get uranium 238 and uranium 235 from this black ore called pitchblende. I don't know where you'd find that, but it's out there. And then you can get thorium 232 from Coleman style gas lanterns.
Oh.
So like there's all these like benign sources, but if you get enough of it, you can do something with it.
I feel like these things too are like already things he knows how to obtain from the Boy Scouts, like camping lanterns, smoke detectors. You got to like check on smoke detectors. You got like the ore, the black ore, like maybe he already had like a badge where he had to go like mining or something like
the mining badge. Yeah. Well, so for example, he was like very resourceful. So he called this company to get one of the, I can't pronounce it, I'm just not going to say it, to get one of the materials that sold smoke detectors.
Oh.
So he called this smoke detector company, and they agreed to send him like 100 broken smoke detectors for $1 a piece. And he didn't know where the material was located in the smoke detector, but a customer service person let him know exactly where it was and like let him know how it was like bundled up so it wouldn't, and so then he knew how to extract it from it and knew where to go.
God.
So yeah. Anyway, so he goes through all these steps to get all the little bits of this stuff, and then he realizes like he needs some fucking uranium. So he has a Geiger counter, obviously. Why wouldn't he? Just a 15-year-old kid with a Geiger counter.
What is that?
It's like a little scale, basically, that makes a little buzzy, crackly noise to test for radioactive sources.
Yeah. Oh.
So he takes his Geiger counter out, and he like goes hunting for what he calls hot rocks. I don't know why he thought there'd just be like uranium lying around, but he did. So,
honey,
but he doesn't.
The meatloaf's ready. Mom, I'm hunting for hot rocks. Leave me alone.
So he doesn't find anything, obviously, because that would be terrible if that shit was just lying around.
Yeah.
So he writes to a Czechoslovakian firm that sells uranium to commercial and university buyers. He got this firm's contact information from the NRC, obviously. They just gave him all the fucking... They spilled all that radioactive tea for him. So he gets in touch with this Czechoslovakian firm, and he's claiming to be a professor, obviously. That's his little MO. Mm-hmm. And he gets some of that black ore, that pitchblende, aka uranium dioxide. Mm-hmm. And he gets all this shit somehow. It's crazy. We'll skip ahead. This is like so much. Oh, another thing he did that was really funny is he bought $1,000 worth of lithium batteries. Because he realizes, like, as he's getting all these, like, samples and, like, little bits of things, he's unlocking step by step by step and figuring all this stuff out as he goes. Like, he's figuring out what each component does and how it needs to, like, you know, what form it needs to be in to do the next thing he needs to do. So he just, like, is figuring this all out. So at one point he realizes he needs a bunch of lithium. So he buys $1,000 worth of lithium batteries and extracts the element by cutting the batteries in half with a pair of wire cutters. And then he places the lithium and this other element together in a ball of aluminum foil, heats it up with a Bunsen burner, and then he basically figures out how to purify this shit to 9,000 times the level found in nature and 170 times the level that requires the NRC licensing. He, like, just did all this in his mom's gardening shed.
Oh my God. In between jobs. That's how he had the money to buy all this shit.
Yeah, I was like, where the fuck did he get $1,000 to buy all these lithium batteries? But that makes sense.
He worked, like, a bunch of little after-school jobs. He had a good work ethic, and he knew, like, he wanted to buy all this shit, and no one's parents are going to give them $1,000 for batteries.
No, I know. I was like, how did he do this?
Also, you're, like, under the radar, because I feel like, yes, his parents should have definitely been more concerned with what he was doing and working on, but also, they're like, oh, he's like becoming an Eagle Scout. He's such a good kid. You know? Like, it's like a good cover.
Right, yeah. So another thing he did this is the one thing that I remember hearing about that I thought was so bizarre. Mm-hmm. He, in order to get radium, like I mentioned before, mm-hmm. some clock faces that have, like, the glow in the dark paint.
Yeah, for, like, where the numbers are.
Yeah, the, like, old clocks that have this paint on them it's radium, essence of radium is on these clock faces. So he finds all these, he, like, goes to junkyards and antique stores and he finds these radium coated dashboard panels or clocks. And once he finds something, he, like, chips the paint off of it and collects it in pill vials. And then he finally finds a big clock with a bunch of the paint, like the radium-infused paint. And then he figures out how to concentrate it all and purify it, which is so fucking dangerous. It, like, started glowing and shit. Like, it was already glowing, but it, like, he really got it going.
Oh,
it's
my God.
Insane. So he's 17 years old now at this point. He's been doing this shit in the mom's gardening shed for about 2 years.
Oh, my God.
And he really starts leading up to the building, like, the concept and firming up this idea of building a breeder reactor.
Oh, my God.
But he knows that, like, he's never really going to do it, but because he needs at least 30 pounds of enriched uranium, which I don't think he's going to get, because he can't create a sustained chain reaction without it. But he's still determined to, like, follow through with all these steps as far as he can go. He wants to take it as far as he can.
Wow.
Using his brain and his resourcewulness,
and his
which is
fingernails
crazy.
To scrape the paint off of a.
It's so crazy.
It's like some of these things he has to do are, like, so time consuming, and, like, any other kid would be like, okay, I'm bored and give up.
Well, and that's why nobody ever, like, envisioned anybody doing anything like this.
Yeah,
because it's so painstaking, and it's like, okay, yeah, there's, like, a trace amount of radium on a clock face.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to take the time to scrape all the paint off to figure out how to purify it and make, you know, like, that's the whole thing is nobody thinks that anybody is going to take the time to do this. But this motherfucker did. Yeah.
Enter David Charles Hahn, plaintiff. Whatever, I don't know.
Dun, dun, dun.
Oh my God, it's wild.
Yeah, he starts to really get shit very radioactive.
Yeah.
Like, he realizes, like, oh, fuck, like, I'm taking this pretty far. And he used to just, like, put, like, a lead vest on and he like put like aluminum foil up around the or I don't think it was just aluminum foil, but he like took some safety precautions, like he'd take his clothes off and stuff. Like, I don't know.
He made like an aluminum foil hat.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, it was like that, the level that he was getting the radioactive materials to,
Yeah.
he might as well have just not been doing anything, because it got so out of hand, and he was just like, oh, fuck, I should probably not do this anymore.
My God. Didn't he? Well, I feel like he probably. I know that eventually he realized that he could pick up signals on his Geiger meter or whatever, like 5 doors down from where his shed was. So, like, to me, that says he like liked to leave his little shed and like see how far, like see how powerful.
He was like, yeah, because he needed to know that it was working.
Right. And
so he was always testing and seeing like how much radioactivity was being put off. So when he realized that it was like way further away from his house, like it wasn't just contained to the shed anymore. He realized like it was starting to spread further and further around the neighborhood. He was like, oh, fuck.
Oh, my God.
I think he started picking up radioactive signals like 5 doors down from his house, and he was just like, whoops.
Is that band 5 doors down? I wonder if the well, you still call me Superman. Do you think that's about this guy, David Charles Hahn?
I think it's 3 doors down, but maybe.
I don't know. I think it's 5 doors down. Anyway, moving on. No.
Well, yeah, he basically freaked out. He was like, oh, shit. This is not good.
Well, that's good. That says to me, all right, this guy had some common sense after all. Like, you know, it's like, oh, this signal's so strong. My fucking neighbors 5 houses down are, like, technically being exposed to radioactivity. Maybe I should, like, tell someone, but he didn't.
No. He kind of freaked out, though.
Yeah, he freaked out. I guess, like, one night he freaked out so much he, like, didn't want to, like, explode the neighborhood or something. So he, like, started loading some parts from everything that he was doing. I don't know if it was leftover parts or, like, parts of the reactor, but he started loading it into the trunk of his Pontiac at, like, 2:45 a.m. And his neighbors saw, and they were, like, called the police because they thought he was stealing tires. And then,
like tires from the car?
Yeah, he thought he was stealing, like, tires, I guess, from his own car. And the police got there, and he's like, no, this is my car. I'm not stealing tires. And they're like, oh, well, what are you doing at almost 3 a.m. out here that your neighbor Karen, is like, oh, there's something going on over there. And he was like...
he's very suspicious.
Yeah, he's, like, very suspicious. And he's like, oh, I'm just an Eagle Scout. And they're like, okay, loading my nuclear reactor into my trunk. Nothing to see here. And they're like,
Karen, mind your own fucking business.
Yeah, Karen. And meanwhile, the police are like, wait, what? And then they got scared that he had a nuclear bomb.
Yeah, because they, like, looked in his trunk. They, like, searched his car.
Yeah.
And they were like, what the fuck is this thing?
Dude.
And it was, like, parts of the reactor. And, like, they didn't know what they were looking at.
It's, like, throbbing and glowing.
Yeah. Well, it was like this homemade device, and they were like, is this a fucking bomb? Like, they had no idea what they were looking at.
Yeah.
And, yeah, he was just like,
it's just like for my science badge.
But the cops, they're like, we're just going to call the bomb squad.
Yeah, they're like, you know what? We're not even going to deal with this. And he's like, oh, excuse me, sirs. Please be careful with my science.
Well, I mean, God, he could have, oh, man. He could, it's so bad. It's so bad.
Well, yeah, so the bomb squad shows up, and they're like, using their probably like a little bit fancier tools. Luckily, it's not a bomb, but they started picking up waves of radioactivity, and it was 1,000 times the amount that should have been present in his Pontiac whatever trunk. I just like that it was
his
a
Grand
Pontiac.
Prix.
Yeah, his Pontiac Grand Prix trunk. and Sunfire. Wasn't Pontiac Sunfire?
Thunderbird?
Ooh, Thunderbird. That's like a nice
Is
one.
that yeah?
Yeah.
I don't know. He didn't have one of those though. I don't know what
I
he
don't know
had.
what it was, like a Pontiac generic. It was like a Pontiac sedan of some sort, probably.
Yeah, it was a Pontiac Plutonium.
Yeah, at this point it was.
Yeah.
But the level of radioactivity, like, automatically triggered the federal radiological emergency response plan. So there's like a
Yeah.
federal like plan of action if ever anyone comes across like a certain amount of radioactivity, and it just like automatically triggered it, and they were like, woo woo woo, we gotta like follow the plan, helmets on, folks, like this is real, this is not a drill.
Yeah, exactly. Like the bomb squad was like, we don't know what the fuck this is, and then yeah. And they had to push the panic button.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Well, he was arrested, by the way.
This isn't legal. If anyone's listening and they're like, "Hey, maybe I'll try that." No. It's bad. It's illegal.
It's real bad. It's real bad. Yeah, he gets arrested, and I think he told the police that he gave them his dad's address. So nobody thought to look at his mom's house for any other like materials or anything, or even thought to investigate further at this other location. They just like were like, okay, where did this come from? We need to like make sure there's no other materials anywhere. And they only went to his dad's house, I think.
What?
Because that's the address they gave him. And he wasn't like forthcoming with any other information, which is so bad. It's like he was so freaked out, I think.
Yeah.
And he knew it was bad that he didn't want to get in any more trouble, I guess.
But that's not on him. That, like, I don't understand how if you were part of this, like, retrieval squad, that you would just be like, oh, this is it? Okay, bye. Like, you wouldn't, like...
Yeah, why wouldn't you, like... It's so easy to verify that he has another residence, like that he goes back and forth between his two parents' houses. Like, it's so crazy. So they didn't go to his mom's house, to the garden shed to check that out for like months, I think. Like not days, like months.
No, it was fucking 5 doors down months. It was 5 months. But this is what's fucked up. In those 5 months, the mom's just like fucking Marie Kondoing her gardening shed, and she's like throwing things away that she's like, I don't know what this is, and taking it out with like the regular trash.
Dude.
Just like a bunch of radioactive shit and like highly explosive. Who knows how many homemade tubes of glycerin he had in there? We don't know. And she's just like throwing it out with the bacon grease and like her old fucking TV guides.
Oh my God.
Her old Reader's Digest and all of her like finished crossword puzzles.
Oh
it's
my
like,
God.
What? Oh my God. And you can't just do that. To dispose of this shit, you have to like put it in a tin, or not like an aluminum drum or whatever, and like bury it underground deep.
Yeah, so once they did find out that the garden shed was where he was doing all this shit, the fucking hazmat crew shows up where like they have to like wear radioactive like it's like that scene from E.T. basically.
Oh yeah.
And they're like all over the neighborhood. Yeah. And these guys in like huge suit hazmat like moon suits are all over the neighborhood, and people are like, what the fuck is going on? Nobody knew that this was happening at all. Nobody knew what he was doing.
No.
Nobody in the neighborhood, his parents, nobody knew he was doing this. Maybe a couple friends like had some sort of idea, but like...
Did he have friends? I feel like he was probably kind of a loner if he was like spending all his time doing this.
He had like a girlfriend, and like he had friends. He was like a normal teenager in most ways, but except for this one thing. But yeah, these dudes come and they had to like chop up the entire like garden shed into pieces and dispose of it in barrels, and then they like bury it out in the desert somewhere.
Fucking like Salt Lake Desert. They took it from Michigan to Utah to bury it with other radioactive stuff. There's like a radioactive graveyard or some shit out there.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you don't want to go there.
No. That's gnarly.
Yeah. And then when they went and found like all of his stuff and the EPA assessed it, they said that this little hobby that he had built himself exposed upwards to 40,000 people to radioactivity in his community.
And that's cancer-causing levels of radioactivity.
Oh, right, yeah. And then they're like, "Do you want to get tested?" And he was like, "No, I don't even
I don't want to know."
Yeah. So he didn't.
Yeah. So shitty. Well, things went really downhill for this poor guy after all this.
Yeah.
It's so, it is really sad because he worked really hard.
He worked
to
really
do this.
hard. And he's clearly a smart and ambitious young man.
Yeah, it's just that it was very unsafe, very ill-advised. Not advised at all, actually. Just poorly thought out. Like, and he just wanted to keep going with it. And I think he just got down this path and was just so, he had like blinders on and couldn't figure out what the fuck was gonna, like, he had no like idea of what the consequences could be. I think honestly, because he kind of was given the green light by the fact that he was able to do as much as he did for as long as he did, and just didn't think it was that bad. I don't know.
I feel like he just didn't have any supervision, and it would have been nice if at some point someone's like, "Hey, you can't," if he had a mentor or something, and like they're like, "Hey, you can't really do this in your house, but there's this program you could look into, or why don't you start studying these things, and eventually you could go to MIT or some shit, and and be a really smart and important person." But it just wasn't. He wasn't nurtured well, I feel like.
No.
And
his energies were not channeled properly.
Energies.
Oh, but it gets really sad.
Yeah.
From here, he I don't know. His mom died. She committed suicide like the year after all this went down. Like after this was all discovered. His dad was like, you need to either. I think his dad and his stepmom were like, you need to go to community college or something.
Yeah.
Because he kind of was just like super, super depressed after all of his shit was basically just thrown away.
Yeah.
And he was just scolded into oblivion.
Yeah.
I don't know that he was like put in jail for any time or anything like that, but he was just, he got yelled at. He got told that he fucked up, and then nothing, kind of.
Yeah. It was like, they just like
it all just stopped.
Him.
Yeah. And he had devoted so much time and energy into this. So then his mom committed suicide in 1996. Oh, so sad. And he joined the Navy eventually. He was really hoping to do a stint in the, nuclear field and be a specialist of some sort. But he went through basic training, and they had him doing grunt jobs, and he got really discouraged. And just decided to quit after not getting anywhere with that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's and he was taking classes and stuff, but it was all just so, he'd already gone beyond to a point that not very many people have ever gotten to.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's he ran before he could ever crawl or walk.
It's like getting a high school degree and then having to go back and retake an elementary school class or so. It's like you already learned all this stuff, or it's like he was already doing something he liked and was good at, and then you're almost having to start over, and it's hard. He must have thought. I mean, he probably was smarter than a lot of people that he was working with, and that's hard. Then you get bored and then you lash out.
Totally.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and ever after this, the FBI would check up on him.
Oh yeah, they have to. Well, yeah. And he got in trouble, right?
Yeah, I think he was still he was doing dumb stuff. He would steal smoke detectors out of apartment buildings, which is very dangerous. You can't do that.
No, that leaves other people in a bad situation. Why didn't he just try his 3 kids in a trench coat thing again and like call the factory and be like, I need old smoke detectors for the class I'm teaching at work once.
I bet, like, I don't know. Well, so nobody really knew the extent of like how he got all this stuff. Like, I don't think that anybody questioned him properly. He kind of like clammed up after everything, and they just didn't want to deal with him anymore until this guy did this interview with him from Harper's. And that's how, people found out the extent of how he got all these materials.
Oh, okay.
Because he finally like opened up about it, not to law enforcement, but to somebody from
the press.
Harper's.
Yeah.
So then mid 2000s, his life kind of starts going downhill. He's just like constantly hounded by law enforcement and like making bad life choices. And then he actually died pretty recently in 2016 at the age of 39. And I guess people were like, whoa, did he die from like his radioactive exposure or whatever? But no, he died of a accidental overdose.
Yeah.
Alcohol and fentanyl, actually, among other things.
Yeah.
Sad.
So sad. I feel like just squandered potential.
I know.
And not on his part, really. It's like no one kind of helped him get on a path that would be fruitful. Because what if we could have like learned a lot maybe from him.
Yeah.
Or was he just fucking around with like chemicals and shit? It's like, I guess that's hard to tell.
And I mean, he seemed like the kind of person who was just like, I don't want to be told how to do this thing. I just want to figure it out. I want to he didn't want the structure of, I get that. Like going to school was the worst. Like
being told how to do things.
Yeah, the curriculum is not for everybody. Like the way you learn is different than somebody else, and so he just probably was just on another plane, and he just didn't get the kind of I don't know. He didn't have his talent nourished in the way it should have been. But he also wasn't taught personal responsibility, it sounds like, either.
I don't know if he ever got his personal responsibility badge.
Yeah.
He should have.
Personal management.
Personal management. Yeah, maybe he didn't do that badge yet, and I don't know. But he would have had to because it was required. But also, I think he should have done the inventor's badge. It sounds like.
But do you think he still would have tried to make a nuclear reactor? Because technically, it's not inventing something new. It's like inventing a new way to do it.
Or maybe he just would have come up with the ShamWow 10 years before it was actually come up. But we don't know. He could have been the inventor of OxyClean, and then a millionaire, and then his life would have been different. But instead, it was sad.
Ah, fuck.
You can't get fixated on things sometimes, especially bad things.
I know. Well, but I don't think he thought it was bad. I think he thought
no, but once you're arrested for it.
Well, I don't think he thought he was doing anything wrong until he realized, like, I can't contain the radioactivity. He didn't think that far ahead.
True.
He was just like looking at it so closely that he didn't see the potential very bad consequences.
It's too bad he couldn't go Back to the Future.
Too
88
bad.
miles an hour in his Pontiac Sunfire, whatever it was. He just needed a flux capacitor, and then he would have known this doesn't end well.
No. He needed a Doc, man.
He needed a Doc Brown. He needed to play in his homecoming prom band.
If only he just would have learned the guitar.
If only he just would have put this effort into learning the guitar. Things would have been different.
He probably could have been the next Jimi Hendrix. I don't know.
The next Chuck Berry or whatever.
Next Chuck Berry, yeah.
Hey, Chuck, it's your cousin, so-and-so.
Marvin Berry.
You got to get down here. Listen to this.
You know that sound you've been looking for? Listen to this. I haven't seen Back to the Future a million times. It's fine.
Yeah. I'm not going to watch it now, but I am. All right.
Yep, that's all I got. Poor guy. R.I.P.
R.I.P.
What an interesting and terrible story.
Yeah.
Sorry that it ended on such a down note.
Well, whatever. It's sad. It ended sad. Well, I'm very excited about next week's 100th episode topic.
Me too. It's going to be so fun.
Sexy.
Sexy. I can't wait.
I can't wait. You know that song? It's good.
Oh, yeah, it's good. All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Follow us on social medias.
At TTFU Podcast, all the platforms. We're very social media centric. We don't post a lot, but we engage a lot. So,
Did you hear that?
Was that a fart or a burp?
It was a burp.
Ooh, baby burp. Sounded like a regular sized person's burp.
Yep. His farts sound like a regular person's fart, too. I'm always like, was that you or DJ? I have no idea.
Or both.
It's surround sound over here.
Ooh.
Anyway, thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah.
Be excellent to each other and to yourselves.
And to your neighborhoods and to science.
Yeah. Get that merit badge in personal management of all of the things. I don't know. Okay. I'm going to stop now. Goodbye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.